Hello everybody, welcome back to Golden Talkies. Ain't it been a while? Ain't it been a thang?
How long's it been? Like a week and a half?
Yeah, a week and a half since we recorded, I guess.
Jesus Christ.
Wow. So, to give an explanation, there were, as we mentioned at the end of last week's, 2 weeks ago episode, no film. Or at least none that we had legal access to, which, me and Duncan are very big believers in paying for what we watch when it's convenient and watching it on YouTube when it isn't. But we couldn't find an option, so we were going to cheat and do MASH, but there were no film. But we just didn't have the motivation, and you can't yell at us because this is a one-way communication stream. So, haha.
But conveniently, there were no films this week either. So
no,
we're watching MASH anyway.
Yeah, so there was one I think it was a TV movie adaptation of a Hemingway novel.
Yeah.
So we figured, you know what? Why don't we just watch MASH anyway? So this is our second cheat tweet.
Fuck the rules.
I believe this will probably be our last one of the year because once we get into December, there's some pretty major releases that I think will be quite interesting to get to.
I thought you were going to say last episode of the year. I was like, what am I going to do?
No.
What am I going to do all of December if I don't get to record with my buddy?
Exactly. So yeah, this is our second cheat week. Last cheat week we did was General Patton. If you don't know what our cheat weeks are, they are where we go back and watch films that we missed. In this case, because we hadn't started the podcast by then, that are significant, particularly for the year's progress as a whole. So last time we watched General Patton, which was a big Oscar winner, but I think this week's film, which is MASH, we dare say was a very big cultural moment for the 1970s.
It did also win an Oscar.
It did also win a lot, more than one Oscar, I think, didn't it?
No, it won one. It won Best Adapted Screenplay. It was nominated for 5.
Fair. But it certainly seems to have been. I think it's still the most popular film that came out in the 1970s to this day, and it's caused ripples critically.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And of course, it inspired a hit sitcom, which people were probably more familiar with, that ran for 7 seasons.
Yeah, when I told people I was watching MASH, they thought I was talking about a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. How do I sound, Jamie?
You sound fine to me, buddy boy. Your voice
got a new microphone.
Creamy chocolate. Oh, that's nice.
However,
anyway.
I've got the microphone I have is an on-camera mic, which means there's no way to set it up where I don't have to hold it. So I'm currently holding it, and we'll be holding it for the rest of the episode. So
I admire your dedication, my
that's going to be really fun. I might find a way. I think next week I might try and attach it to my camera, set my camera up on the desk, and somehow get that. I don't know. Maybe get my tripod.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know. I'll work it out. Because already my arms are not hurting, but they know that they're being held up. And they're only 3 minutes in, so that's fun. But it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. So
right, shall we?
Before we get into the sticky MASH, do you want to do your historical context?
I would love to. So I realised that I actually did historical context for when the film came out rather than for this week. So I don't know if you want to quickly.
All right. Well, I'm actually looking for it right now.
Awesome.
So you can do it when the film came out, and I'll do it.
So the film came out on 25th of January 1970. I was trying to, because for Patton, we claimed it wasn't a cheat week because it came out in, I don't know, somewhere. I can't even remember where it came out that week. However, we're 7 weeks away from the nearest dates. Hong Kong came out 7 weeks ago, and it comes out in Serbia 7 weeks in the future. So we're really, really fucked this one in terms of cheating.
Fair.
We are just fully cheating. But anyway, 25th of January. This is a nice little throwback, Jamie. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head and I Want You Back were in the US charts.
Oh, nice. I've heard of both of those.
You heard of both of those. Remember we sang...
Here's actually a minor but incredibly important point. Do you think I Want You Back is it's impossible to tell the difference between that and ABC? I'm sure they're the same tune, but I always get confused. For the first hours.
I don't know if I would say it's impossible to tell the difference, but they're very similar songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly. They have lots of similar components. Do you remember when we sang Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head at school?
I do.
Good.
It was part of a medley with Mr. Blue Sky and I Can See Clearly Now. Obvious theme that I don't think I'll spell out of respect for our viewers' intelligence.
It was pretty good though. It was in that order as well, wasn't it? Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, Mr. Blue Sky.
Yeah, I can see.
And
No, I can see. No, I can see clearly now. Then Mr. Blue Sky. Because like.
wait, really?
Up. Yeah. It was raindrops keep falling on my head because it's raining. I can see clearly now because it's clearing up, and then Mr. Blue Sky because now the weather's gone. You know.
No. Is it Mr. Blue Sky is about the blue skies coming out, isn't it? Oh no, you're right.
No,
yeah.
It's about it being sunshiny.
Yeah.
I forget.
And then it's like, please tell us why you
jacket.
had to hide away for so long. Yeah, of course. And then, what was the other one? I can see clearly now. I can see clearly now. The rain has gone. Yeah. So. Yeah, it was an interesting medley, wasn't it? There were 2 songs about it being sunny and one about.
Well, I can see clearly now is very specifically about the rain no longer being there, whereas Mr. Blue Sky does not mention rain.
It does so, mate. You fucking idiot. Literally, the third line is it stopped raining. Everybody's playing.
Oh, I guess. Okay, fine.
Right. So, that was the dumbest thing you've ever said in the podcast. The whole chorus is about the whole chorus about asking why he had to hide away for so long, Mr. Blue Sky. Why he was hiding.
I apologise.
Oh, and then it becomes nighttime, of course. That was the medley. It was daytime, it was raining, it was sunny, Mr. Blue Sky was out, but then nighttime came along. Yeah. Okay, cool. That was a thing. And then in the UK charts, can you guess who had the number 1 hit? In
Are we back to the England World Cup squad now?
No, that would be great, but I don't think we'll hear from them again. For another 4 years, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. This is a person that perhaps would not be so popular nowadays. Let's just say.
Oh, so Jimmy Savile or something.
Close,
like that?
Very close.
Oh, Gary Glitter.
No.
I don't know. Like I've run out of famous paedophiles.
Australian.
Australian. Australian, UK, 70s. Now I'm drawing a blank, mate.
Rolf Harris.
Oh, of course.
2 Little Boys by Rolf Harris, which is aged very poorly, was number 1. Suspicious Minds by Elvis Presley was also in the charts. I remember that was one that was kicking about the charts when we started back in the day.
Elvis's later career, obviously everyone's favourite part of Elvis's career.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, man. It's the best. Okay, so did you get the chance to look up?
Yep. Okay, so here's some stuff that happened over the last week. On November 16th, Elton John recorded a show in New York City, which would later be released as an album on the 17th. Okay. 2 men were shot by the IRA, and the South Vietnamese vice president defended an operation in Cambodia, saying that communist forces could have overrun South Vietnam within 24 hours. Moving on to the Tuesday, The Sun put up its first ever pin-up girl on page 3.
Oh wow, that is actually big news.
Stephanie Ran. Yeah.
Because they stopped that, didn't they, just recently?
It seems recently.
Changed it, kind of.
It was a few years ago now, but yeah.
Yeah. Semi-recently. In the scale of...
For anyone who doesn't know, because I assume we have an international audience, obviously.
We do, actually.
Put up, for many, many years, there was a long tradition of them putting up a nude picture on page 3, which was scandalous at the time. Well, not at the time. It was just it was racy, and then eventually became probably inappropriate, and so they stopped it. Douglas Engelbart received the patent for the first computer mouse.
First computer mouse.
Russia landed the first unmanned remote-controlled vehicle on the moon. First drone.
Oh. Cool. That's cool. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Because you don't think about the Russians on the moon, really, do you?
Well, the thing is,
kind of think
the Russians have had basically every single space race victory other than landing on the moon. But obviously, once the Americans got that in the bag, then that was made. Because the thing is, at the time, the object of the space race wasn't seen as let's get a person on the moon. It was just let's get activity in space. But because the Americans won that one thing, and then they presented that as being the goal all along, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. And then you don't think about the Russians, because the Russians got to the moon first as well, didn't they? They just didn't land on it.
Yeah, they just didn't land.
With people, it was very specific thing. So I'm looking at a Sun page 3 thing here, right? And it's next to an article about Man United Stadium being infested with mice, and they've got
Great.
three puns, right? They've got a sort of headline to the headline that says "No blimey,"
Okay.
then a headline that says "Icky bum time," which I don't get. I guess that's something to do with Manchester. Then there's a picture of a mouse, right, wearing a Man U strip that says "We've been a Mickey Mouse team lately." And then there's a headline, Man United Stadium is infested with mice. And then there's a sub-headline saying, theatre of screens, mice are giving United headache. And then there's a poster that says, of mice and Man U. And then there's the article. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sort of puns slash jokes before you get to the article.
Everyone in the writer's room sort of comes up with one pun and you don't want anyone to feel left out, you just stick them all in.
It's horrible. I'm going to send this to you. I think you'll appreciate this, Jamie.
Thank you.
I'm not going to put it on the screen because I fear that we might get cancelled for encouraging page-free stuff.
Moving on to I believe Wednesday, Joe Frazier won the heavyweight boxing title. Famous boy, obviously. Johnny Bench won a baseball thing. And Linus Pauling declared that large doses of vitamin C could ward off colds, which I am surprised they did not know in 1970. Netherlands and Albania formed diplomatic relations, and Russia landed a self-propelled rover on the moon, which is apparently separate from that other thing they did.
Oh. Cool.
Hal Dickinson died. On the 19th, nothing of much interest happened. On the 20th, the UN General Assembly accepted the membership of the People's Republic of China.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's fuck Taiwan, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, is that Taiwan? No.
I forget. On the 21st, there was a coup d'etat where General Hafez al-Assad became Prime Minister of Syria following a coup.
Did he go on TV in full military uniform on a news station and say this is not a coup, like that guy did in Zimbabwe or wherever it was a couple of years
Sadly, that sort of visionary that visionary diplomatic method was not established.
That was fucking. Do you remember that one?
I do remember
there was
that.
that meme about that. That was
quite
so
funny.
He like sits there. It's like,
I'm sure it's not funny if you live there, but
no, but it's just like on the news, full uniform. This is not the military takeover. It's pretty good. Good stuff.
But yeah, that's all the interesting stuff that happened this week. I will go ahead and say that I think the most interesting of those is the Sun starting page 3.
Yeah, I think so. Have you looked at the thing that I just sent you on Facebook? The mouse thing?
I'll have a look right now. Incredible, actually. Just... Okay, so what Duncan neglected to mention, or perhaps he mentioned it and I just didn't notice, is that the guy saying we've been a Mickey Mouse team lately is a Manchester United player with a mouse's head photoshopped on him.
I said that. I said it the other way. I said it's a mouse wearing a Man U strip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you count that, then I guess that's 6 total.
Yeah. And it is right next to. Wait, it's next to I think it's next to an apology. For pictures. Let's clarify that this is page 3. On behalf of who spent the last 2 days talking about. We would like to clarify that this is page. It's unclear what they're apologizing for, which I guess you do a good apology.
Do you think I could probably put that on the podcast, right?
You have my
not. What?
You have my permission to do so. Just don't leave it there the entire time.
No, I'm not going to have it as like the background of the whole podcast, but I might flash it up, so people can see it. But only if they're a visual watcher. If you're an audio listener,
I mean, it's not like we make money from this anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the Sun's gonna. It's probably fair use because we're commenting on it, we're reviewing it, right? That's fair use, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how fair use works in the UK.
You're a lawyer, though.
Well, yeah, but I did my intellectual property course in Canada, so.
That's a shame.
Right. Shall we talk about the Mobile Army Surgical
Hospital.
There we go.
Probably. It has been 15 minutes.
It has. So I suppose to just give a general outline of what the thing is. MASH follows the adventures of some army surgeons.
Or the misadventures.
The misadventures, even. Put that in brackets, and then you got yourself a poster. They are Hawkeye Pierce, Trapper, Duke. They all have fun nicknames, basically. and they're army surgeons. They have a very nihilistic sense of humor, but they're trying to make the best of it. They sort of swagger around the army hospital. They make themselves make themselves martinis, and they sort of just make fun of each other, basically. And they try and rebel against the sort of stickler army types who are big on discipline, like Hot Lips Houlihan or Frank. Can't remember his nickname.
Burns.
Frank Burns. That's it.
I think they just call him Burns.
Yeah, Burns.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really just a series. It's not really much of an ongoing plot. It's more of a series of isolated episodes of various comic hijinks as they try to maintain their sanity, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything that stands out to you want to mention about the events of the film.
Oh, bloody hell, Jamie! You're really. Should we?
We can try and go through them one by one if you want.
We can vaguely go through them one by one.
Vignettes.
As they arrive, they steal a jeep. First of all, they arrive at another army, whatever, and instead of taking the transport to hospital, they steal someone's jeep, which is a recurring joke throughout the film. There's a nice bit, not to spoil the ending, but there's a nice bit at the end where, I think it's almost a Catch-22 style line, where they've stolen a jeep, they drive it to the hospital. There's a whole conversation about them stealing the jeep, and then as they leave, they say, "Oh no, did they steal that jeep?" And he said, "No, that's the one they arrived in," even though they'd stolen it already, which was pretty funny, I thought. I don't know how well that joke's going to come across.
The beginning part of the film takes a lot of humour out of people shouting over one another, which reminded me a lot of the Out-of-Towners of all the things we've watched.
Yeah, I was going to save it for the end, but I think the film gets a lot better as it goes on. I really was not a fan of the start. I was like, if this is just going to be people shouting over each other the whole film, then I'm going to lose it. But it gets a lot better. Yeah.
So
what happens?
Well, they arrive at the camp, and I think they start their, devil may care thing. They get very annoyed by Frank Burns because he's a big Christian. Who keeps praying all the time, and that irritates them. According to one critic, this was the first film that ever sort of laughed at people for being Christian, not because they were doing it wrong, but just because they were Christian.
Interesting.
So it was it was breaking that taboo.
Apparently, this was also the first film to have "fuck" in it by a major studio but that's a contested claim. So
yeah, it's a very quick fuck. It's not like a big impact one. You know what I mean? It sort of rolls off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
It's said very briefly during a football game.
Yeah. That was an improvised line, I think.
Yeah.
Which is why it's not. So they arrive, and Hawkeye immediately shags one of the nurses.
Yes. Despite they're both married. But it's his devil may care attitude, baby.
Yeah. I think that sets the tone for the film.
Yeah.
Pretty nicely.
We get, I think, our first scenes from the surgery, which I suppose are worth mentioning. They're very, not violent, but they're very gory. They don't shy away from the blood. It's incredibly unhygienic, although I suppose that's just the way it was, wasn't it? You can't really have... I'm sure they did the best they could with what they had. Yeah, I mean,
to be fair, they're wearing masks and surgical scrubs and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's made in a tent with a dirt floor and stuff. So it's
made very clear multiple times throughout the film that Hawkeye and Trapper and the rest do actually take their jobs very seriously when they're actually doing them. They care deeply about hygiene and professional standards. There's one of the earlier on hijinks with Trapper is that Frank Burns blames the loss of a patient on his young assistant, and they very clearly takes it seriously and is really upset about that he's been told he's killed this man, and Trapper genuinely gets furious at him for not accepting responsibility.
It was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Why did I say brutal? Pretty
brutal.
It was pretty brutal when he said
pretty brutal, pretty scrotal.
Yeah.
But even when... But yeah, whilst they don't take any of the surrounding decorum of the military seriously at all, it is clear that they do care about healing people.
Yeah, exactly, which is nice.
Yeah, it's what grounds them.
Yeah, it would have been easy to just make them complete.
But it would have been a much lesser film if they had just been complete whack-offs. who was
Exactly.
just around the entire time. So yeah, the first thing is that they sort of conspire to get Frank Burns turned out of their tent. Forgotten how they do that? They make an exchange with Henry, don't they? The commander of the camp, to get Frank torn out in exchange for Hawkeye doing something or other.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, they try. I honestly I can't remember. Let me see if I wrote it down. Oh, he punches. No, that's what.
After Trapper comes in to replace Frank Burns.
Trapper does punch someone and then gets told off, which starts his.
Yeah, but this is after
his
all
thing
that.
coming. Yeah.
But yeah, well, we'll skip that. I'm sure. Whatever. But yeah, Trapper comes to replace Frank Burns. He is played by Elliott Gould, familiar face from our episode Getting Straight. He is good in this film. I've decided that I like him as an actor. I would like to see him in more things.
Yes.
He's very good at understating and complaining, which are fun things to listen to.
Sort of thing you.
And I like his moustache. I am curious as to whether he had to keep the moustache for Getting Straight whilst doing this film.
Interesting. Or vice versa.
Yeah.
No, probably not. Maybe vice versa. I don't know.
Well, I feel like the moustache
it fits his character a lot more.
In Getting Straight, yeah, it's important there. Whereas in Trapper, he just has a very thick moustache for whatever reason. So yeah, the stuff with Trapper punching Frank Burns and being told off.
Well, we've not. Yeah.
And I believe this is where Major O'Houlihan makes her appearance.
Yeah, she arrives and she's
uptight.
shocked. She's shocked
at
the behaviour of these gentlemen.
The slovenly behaviour. She's very big into discipline, and she wants to, get this place into shape.
Much like Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes, I thought it was she's quite similar in a way, and I find
not exactly the same, definitely, but it has lots of similar elements, I'd say.
Yeah. But I'd like to talk about this later actually because I have opinions here. But
okay.
Major O'Houlihan sort of gets annoyed at them and wants them to shape up a bit. And in revenge, they record her having sex with Frank Burns and then play it up the entire camp, and that's where she gets the nickname Hot Lips from. That's what she says during her bedroom talk. What happens after that? I think is this where the dentist says he's going to kill himself because he thinks he's gay.
No, I think Frank goes first.
Yeah, Frank goes first because Frank gets really
he punches him.
And then he's declared insane and gets to go home.
So they basically they take the piss out. They record him having sex and they take the piss out of Frank, and then he punches Hawkeye or Trapper or one of them, and then gets kicked out.
Yeah, it's Hawkeye he punches. Hawkeye is very deliberately goading him, and completely deserves it.
Yes, and then it's the gay dentist.
Yeah. Then the dentist, who they've talked about in the camp, is a famously large penis.
Yeah.
But he's not getting it up anymore, and so he's convinced that he's repressed homosexual, and that because this is the 70s, this means he has to kill himself. Yeah.
It's the only two logical leaps. Your penis isn't working. You're gay. You have to die. That's
I would not
1970s
say
way.
this film comes out glowingly on the LGBT front, but at the same
time, I don't think so.
At least they're not outwardly cruel to him because of it. I think it's based more on the fact that he's like delusional.
Well, yeah, they know that he's not gay, I guess.
Yeah,
you don't really
that's
know.
The thing. They also know that he's not.
Yeah, you don't know how they would act if he was. Which
I guess, and that's a neutral. Sometimes that's all we can hope for.
Yeah.
But so he kills himself, or he pretends to kill himself, and then
in a bizarre scene that is shot like The Last Supper.
Yes. Did you ever see the Kenneth Branagh Poirot film?
No.
That has a really obvious, like genuinely funny because of how clumsily it's done Last Supper scene, and I would just like to say that this one is much better, which is good because it's quite hard to do Last Supper scenes, so it's very hard to justify why everyone would sit on one side of the table.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that there's a whole thing about that painting making no sense because they're all on one side of the table, But in this one, it's because the coffin, they've got a coffin for him, which is on the other side of the table. So it's like a ceremonial. They're on one side looking at it thing.
Yeah. So they give him a black pill, which I think Hawkeye makes pretty clear isn't going to actually kill him. It's just going to knock him out or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they do "Suicide is Painless." It's played
Which
on
is a good song. I like
It's
it.
a good song. It's apparently, I've heard it was written by the director's 14-year-old son.
Really?
And yeah, it's definitely
it's
written
interesting
by
that the guy is called
someone
Painless,
related to him. It was Mike Altman who wrote it. The director
kills himself.
So I don't know how that
What?
rumor plays out. But yeah, they play that. Dentist.
You there?
Yeah. I'm here. I'm almost here.
Did I cut out for a bit because you were
Yeah.
just talking? Right.
Sorry.
That'd be fun.
Discord is sucky.
Classic. I was just saying it's interesting that the guy is called Painless that kills himself. That's his nickname.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, yeah, Suicide is Painless is a shitty pun.
Yeah. But a nice song nonetheless.
Yeah. So he's sort of lying down, and then Hawkeye, defender of women everywhere, says that the nurse he's sleeping with will simply have to have sex with him whilst he's unconscious. And she does so. Whilst not uncomfortable, but clearly annoyed. If you told her she had to take the bins out, is the sort of level of emotional irritation at having to have sex with a corpse.
Yeah.
I believe after this is the series of events where they have a bet over whether Major O'Houlihan is a natural blonde or not. Another great moment for respecting women everywhere. As they trick her into going into the tent, and then they pull down the tent so that the entire tent can stare at her.
Which is a little bit of the time. Not the most appropriate.
Yeah, she clearly has a very horrible time of it. The thing is, I was wondering, because I think it's supposed to be intentional, how obviously cruel it is. Because if it was supposed to be Revenge of the Nerd style laughs, then I don't think they'd concentrate on her reaction not so much. But credit to the actress who plays Hot Lip, she's clearly genuinely horrified and really getting traumatized by this experience. It's horrible for her. But I think I think it's maybe intentional. Although I think we should have a conversation. Actually, let's have it now. I think that the tone of this film is a little too cruel for me to enjoy it. Is my hot take.
Right.
Do you have any? Before I elaborate.
I would say I vaguely agree. I don't know if I want to hear what your elaboration is.
Well, I feel obviously almost all of the jokes are at the expense of other people, usually innocent people. And I feel it's a little too mean-spirited for me personally to find it funny. I read Roger Ebert's essay on MASH before recording this, and his take is that the idea is supposed to be that the war has turned them into these cruel beings who can only they're forced to be cruel in order to maintain their sanity, because they sort of hate particularly O'Houlihan and Frank Burns because they aren't affected by the violence for them. I think that's behind their forum and sort of be automata. And so they feel instinctive need to pull them down to their level so that they're all suffering together. Which I think is a valid read of the film and a very interesting one. But at least as a comedy, it doesn't make it any funnier for me. I find it's a bit too mean, personally. Although again, that is the spirit of the film. It's supposed to be a mean-spirited film. I think it's supposed to be mean-spirited and funny, and I'm not getting that second bit.
Fair. I think I kind of agree. I probably find it more funny than that, but I still agree.
Cool. Okay. I'm going on. If I forget any of the vignettes here, I'm going off memory because I didn't make notes because I'm very lazy. The trapper gets an offer to go to Japan to do an operation on a congressman's son. He says that Trapper's the only surgeon who could ever be skilled enough to do it. And Trapper takes one look at the X-ray and discusses how it's a really easy operation, anyone could do it. But he's happy to go to get a free trip for Japan for him and Hawkeye, and they can go play golf. So they sort of barge their way into the surgery and they operate on the congressman's son. The major of the base there tries to stop them whilst in the middle of it, but they get really annoyed because he's infecting the room.
Yeah.
And then afterwards they antagonize him mercilessly and they say that they're just going to go play golf, and he'll have to accept that, otherwise they're just going to tell him into the congressman. They have a fun old time. They play their golf and then they go sort of eat a nice looking meal in a brothel. But the brothel is connected to a sort of children's hospital, and they ask them to operate on a baby who has got something wrong with their trachea, so they can't eat properly. And they suggest taking them to the military hospital, but they're told that that's illegal, and the general has a very strict rule about not helping civilians using military equipment.
Yeah.
They say sod it, and they operate on the boy anyway. And then when the major catches them, they drug him, and then they film him in bed with a prostitute, and they use that to blackmail him so that they can get away with it. Which again is sort of the idea that they're very cruel people, but they are also good people in their own way. Torturing that general, and grievous sexual assaults, as it were, but also in the service of helping a young boy who he was too selfish to help, or not even selfish, too wedded to decorum and discipline.
Yeah.
So that's the essence of them, I suppose. The actress, I don't believe the actress in that scene was a native Japanese speaker, which is my one and only critique of the film.
Wait, the one that is Japanese?
Yeah, she didn't. I think she was.
Yeah.
Japanese American would be my guess, because that accent didn't sound Japanese. I might be wrong.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're the expert, man.
Obviously, I'm the expert.
What's your streak on Duolingo again?
2.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sure. Sorry, I just for some reason I thought you had a better streak, but 2's.
Yeah, I lost it last week. Bams. It's very upsetting.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah, my doorbell just went, so I hope wasn't anything important.
I hope not. I wouldn't want to keep you from anything, mate.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and then last sort of vignette is that there's a football game between them and a rival base. And the MASH boys cheat by drugging the other players and by hiring a ringer, although the other team also has ringers. And then they do some stuff that I can't understand. I don't know the rules of American football.
Yeah, I read a review that said that exactly, that for people that don't understand the rules, they're not really going to enjoy the scene.
Yeah.
Which I can get.
Did you enjoy the scene as someone who I assume understands the rules at this point? I
did enjoy the scene. As someone that has played for 6 years or 5 years or whatever it is.
You might have just been faking knowing the rules this whole time.
It could have been, but that's not really my style. Although I do think the play that they use to win is a bit dubious. I'm 90% sure you're not allowed to put the ball up your jersey, or at least from what I've heard. So, yeah.
Yeah. What else is there? Okay, so that's basically the end of the film. Hawkeye gets to go home, him and Duke, and as Duncan say, he re-steals the Jeep on his way out. Trapper is, I think, too recent an arrival, or possibly just because he misbehaved, so he has to stay.
I think they get to go home for good behaviour, which I don't really get. But then the guy in charge of the base doesn't really care.
Yeah.
When Hot Lips goes to complain to him about the shower scene, he tells her, "Fine, just resign then."
Yeah.
He doesn't.
He's clearly pretty happy with the atmosphere, as it were.
Yeah, he's in bed with one of the nurses, and she walks in and he goes, "Oh, just resign your goddamn commission then." So, and he also calls her Hot Lips, which is like the name she complains about. So I don't know why the other one doesn't get to go home, but and then the credits are done very nicely. So throughout the film, there's loudspeaker announcements about random stuff. Half of it's like little comedy bits, and half of it's stuff for the plot, and half of it's to do whatever. And then at the end, they say that tonight's film is MASH, and then they say all the people that's starring, and as they say that, it cuts to all the people starring in it, and then the film just ends like that.
Yeah, it's very nicely done.
Because they did the credits at the start, right?
Yes.
In terms of
incidentally, keeping track of it, this is, I think, the best opening credits we've seen so far. Good song, good style. I liked it.
Yeah. The helicopters are really cool.
I would say second only to There Was a Crooked Man in terms of opening credits.
That was a good one.
Yeah, because that was was GOAT, baby. That was the fucking goat.
Exactly.
Then
so there's one vignette that you missed.
Mm-hmm.
Vignette that you missed.
These aren't vignettes, I think, are they?
What?
The word, aren't they?
Well, apparently they were when they filmed the film. So this is going off track a bit. When they filmed the film, they were a lot more vignette, like individual bits, and then the studio. Well, first of all, the studio was worried that it wouldn't be clear that it was the Korean War, rather than Vietnam War, which we'll talk about later. I'm sure, but they added most of the loudspeaker scenes were added in to confirm that, but they also added in a bunch of loudspeaker ones that like linked the episodes together. So apparently initially it was a lot more like episodic, and then at the same time as they added the loudspeakers saying like the Korean whatever, and given the context, they also added ones that linked the scenes through, saying, well, whoever come to surgery now and stuff like that. So I guess they're kind of almost vignettes. Certainly it's not like an overarching plot particularly, If you look at the plot, it's they arrive and then they go home. It's like little episodes that actually kind of linked together. But anyway, the one that you missed was when they go into town and there's a film crew filming around town, and then they come across one of the boys that was helping them in the camp, and he's been drafted into the Korean army. And the doctor finds out that the Americans have been giving him drugs to try and make it look like he's ill and can't join up, which is interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
cool.
On that note, as you were sort of hinting towards, we should address that elephant in the room, which is obviously that MASH, I think, is very clearly part of the growing American distrust of the media, which is obviously not the media, the military, that is taking place around this time. Very much one of a bit like Too Late the Hero. It is a Vietnam film, but not really, and that is just sort of a thin veneer of not being Nam.
Exactly.
I think people talk less about the Korean War. I assume because it took place in sort of afterglow of World War II, but I imagine it's...
Yeah, it was quite short as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
well,
but I imagine...
not that short, but relatively.
The Korean War lasted... But, I think it's not got as big a place in the public imagination, but given that, I think most would agree today that it was a bad idea, and that the Americans probably lost. Or at least it was a draw. I think most people would
well, I think they lost less than they lost Vietnam.
Yeah. Oh well, Vietnam is
you know what I mean?
Absolutely a loss unless you are an American school teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas the Korean War, you can legitimately say as a draw. Korean War lasted 4 years, although I know the American involvement less than that.
What did we say about Catch-22 in regards to the Vietnam War?
Oh yeah, that's also. I mean.
Not as strongly, really. It's more just a general war thing. Compare Too Late the Hero is without a doubt,
Yeah. Well, Too Late the Hero is also has a jungle setting, and it's very much about guerrilla warfare.
Exactly.
If you want to admit it. Where I would say that this film, on sort of sliding scale from Catch-22 to Vietnam, I would say Too Late the Hero is closer to that direction, to Too Late the Hero in that. I think Catch-22's lessons, as it were, can be applied to any war, whereas I would say MASH feels a lot more like something that can only really be applied to Vietnam or Cold War battles, as it were. Although I dare say most military men enjoy it. Or would they enjoy it? I think they'd hate it. Right. So yeah, I think the big lesson of MASH, I suppose, is that the military are too up their own asses to be decent human beings, and they've lost sight of humanity.
Which is a pretty strong theme in Catch-22 too.
Yes, there's a lot of similarities to Catch-22 and MASH as well.
Yeah.
There's even a scene where someone gets sent home for being insane, and then someone's like, well, if I just do the same stuff, can't I go home too? Which was a very Catch-22 moment.
Yeah. I think I preferred Catch-22 by quite a bit, but as I said when we watched Catch-22, I kind of see it as the book and the TV show and that film. rather than just the film. I kind of connect them all. So maybe
I kind of bounced off of both, and I'm still sure that if I read Catch-22, I'd like it, because there's definitely like glimpses of something really brilliant in there. But if we just compare the films on their own, I think I like MASH more, just because I enjoyed the energy of it more. I really liked Donald Sutherland and Elliott Gould in this. I like their rapport. It's not the sort of thing where like I laughed out loud a lot, but like it was a comfy dynamic that I found enjoyable. Which I suppose is an issue, actually, because it's not supposed to be comfy, is it? But you know.
No, certainly not.
Presentation of this film, as I hinted on before, I would say is bad.
The what? Sorry. Presentation of women.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst. There are female characters that speak and have their own opinions and stuff, but not to any real extent. You know.
I would say what this film actually reminded me of more than anything, and I think it came before most of them, so I'm wondering if MASH was an influence, is like it's like college films. Like if you imagine like the MASH boys were like Delta House or something.
Yeah.
It was a very similar director, and like Frank Burns was like that unscrupulous dean who was destroying the partying.
Yeah.
It's like a very similar.
Yeah, that's the kind of vibe they're going for, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if, because like I don't think those films really existed at that time. So I'm wondering if like
no, maybe not.
Inspired the vibe. It's like we're like we should do something similar to MASH. What's like a lower stakes, less violent way we can have like a group of guys together who need to have fun, and they're like,
college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hate being part of a fraternity, but I want to give it a go.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
You have to go over to the US to do a master's or something then, because
really,
I don't think your current university has many fraternities about.
No. Even my exchange university only had 2, and one was only for Jewish students.
Why didn't you join the other one?
I forget. I think it was very like neither of them were like real fraternities. Like they weren't like the fucking mansions that they supposedly have in at least in US college films.
Yeah. I mean, I think those do exist, but I think they do exist, but I think they don't exist in the same quantity or regularity as they do in these films where there's like a street full of them. But it's pretty interesting. That whole thing I just find really weird. Especially since a lot of the colleges have rules on drinking and stuff, which
because I
just find insane.
I think from the movies, which is all I can talk about because that's my only experience of it. Like you join the fraternity in your first year, right? And like if you're American, you're not going to be able to legally drink until your first year.
Exactly.
So presumably that those are super illegal and B really obviously illegal in a way that cops could quite easily take advantage of.
Exactly. Yeah, because I looked up a video. There's this university, Coastal Carolina, and there was a video about their football team and how they're like crazy party whatever. So I looked it up and there was like another video of like partying or whatever, and I didn't really watch it, but I clicked on it, and all the comments were like, "Oh, I hope all the people in this have graduated, because otherwise they're going to be in big trouble if this gets leaked." And I was like, "What? They're just partying." And then I realized that, of course, like if they're at college, they're mostly going to be under 21, and like they're all drinking and doing drugs and smoking and stuff in the video. And I'm like, well, yeah, actually, that's probably not great.
21 is a stupid drinking age. I just
21.
Yeah. That's implied in this discussion, but just to give the official Golden Talkies political stance.
18 is a good age.
I personally favour lowering it down to 16. I think.
Really? I think 16 for. Well, I was going to say 16 for some things, but I think it's hard to manage it. I think the reason it's 18 is that they know people are going to do it below that, but they can kind of they can play it by ear or kind of look at the exact situation for below that.
The selfish thing about keeping it at 18 is that I would like less children in the pubs because they irritate me. But
yeah, I mean, if you have 16-year-olds in a pub and a club, and also it's really dodgy if you have 16-year-olds in the club, and people don't know that they're 16. I think that's really dodgy.
That's fair.
I think stuff like that needs to be 18. But I think like you can say drinking in a pub or club you have to be 18, but you can But you can have it with a meal at 16 and stuff, which I think's fine. I think what they could do is they could change the rules for like private households.
That's maybe.
Although you're allowed to do that, aren't you?
I don't think so. Well,
I think there's some rule where like in a private house there's a lot of exceptions, or
well, I mean, obviously it's impossible to enforce anyway, but like also I think obviously it's the sale of alcohol to under 18s which is the crime, right? It might be like drugs where like possessing it's a crime but like using it isn't technically. Exactly.
So I think the UK has pretty good rules, to be fair, around it. Like kind of 16 for some things, 18 for most things. I think it works because it matches up with other ages that you can do things.
But certainly serviceable rules at the very least.
Yeah, whereas like 21 is just so high, and you know, like even if it was like the same as here, where it's like 21 for some things, but you can do most things 18. But it's like literally, 21's the only thing. It's just weird. It seems really old. Anyway, that was a big tangent.
Well, that's the aim of the show, innit? Get some tangents going. I hate talking about films, actually. Just tangents, please.
Yeah, me too, man. I fucking hate it. It's totally not what I do all the time.
Anything else about MASH that we want to discuss?
Yeah, so the film was made by 20th Century Fox. As we mentioned, it was one of the first big studio films to use the word fuck. But what other two films, Jamie, were made alongside this film by 20th Century Fox?
Were made alongside it. I have no clue. Films we've seen. I'm going to say one.
As in at the same time that may be in competition with this film.
Oh, for fuck, or just
no, for funding and studio resources, etc.
I can't think of films that were made by 20th Century Fox. I'm going to assume for absolutely no reason Cromwell.
No.
Okay. These are films. What we've seen at least one of these films, right? I'm going to guess. Airplane, maybe. That's another big one that we haven't seen.
We've seen both of these films.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going to look up our list of episodes, and then I'm going to make 3 formal guesses. Okay, and then you can tell me if they're correct. Okay. Right.
Okay.
My guesses: 1, 5 easy pieces. 2,
no.
2, 2. I'm going to say The Outtowners. I think that was made by 20th Century Fox.
No.
Okay, and then last one. Let's go for. It wouldn't be Patton, would it? Let's say Tora.
Yes.
Okay.
And also Patton.
Oh, and Patton. All right.
Yeah. So 20th Century Fox had 2 incredibly high-budget war films going on at this time.
Well, Tora
making
was
both Patton,
very expensive, obviously.
Yeah, Patton and Tora were both being made at this time. Both very expensive war films. And Altman, who directed this film, Robert Altman, said that he knew that as long as he kept under budget and kept steaming along, he'd be all right because, he knew the other 2 would be going way over budget and etc. So he tried to put his own kind of spin on the genre. He didn't try and aim too big.
Yeah, I would say that this film very much seems made for like being adapted into a sitcom. In that, like, there's very few locations. It's mostly about like character chemistry. Obviously, as we talked about, it's mostly vignettes.
Yeah,
I can see why it made the transition easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not surprised that it was cheap to make.
No.
Good for them.
I don't know how cheap. It probably wasn't like cheap, but relative to Patton and Tora it was.
Yeah. Budget was $3 million, which has to be adjusted for inflation. But it made $81 million at the box office, so that's a massive profit.
That's pretty good. It won the Palme d'Or.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice.
Which it wasn't called the Palme d'Or at the time, but the equivalent prize at Cannes in 1970. Yeah. So that's good.
I'm surprised they go for that. You know what? I like the Palme d'Or. They seem to know what's up.
Know what's down.
Yeah.
Know what's going on. There's a porn film festival in Cannes as well, isn't there?
I didn't know that. I guess that's more your department.
No, I remember. Where did I hear about that or read about that? I think it was a book, or I can't remember what it was. But there was something where like, Oh, it was the Trainspotting, the second Trainspotting book. They make a porn film, and they take it to the Cannes Film Festival, and there's like a porn fest. I don't know if it's real. I'm gonna look it up now, incognito mode, so it doesn't pop up. Maybe it's not real. Maybe it's just something that Irvin Welsh made up for the book.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
They have porn awards, I'm sure.
Maybe? No, I don't know. The Hot Door. Oh yeah, there was. Right. From 1992 to 2001 in Cannes, you could win the Hot Door by the French journal Hot Video.
Nice. Like it.
Yeah, it was the inaugural event was held over 2 weeks in May in a hotel complex at exactly the same time as the Cannes Film Festival.
Ah, that's nice.
And it was noted for the lavish parties that accompanied it, particularly those held on board a yacht, which is what happens in the book. There you go. So if you're ever reading porno by Irvin Welsh, the Cannes Porn Festival is real. It happens at the same time as the Cannes Film Festival.
Nice.
There you go. I'm glad I remembered what book I got that from, because otherwise I could have sounded really like I was.
You just
reminded
me
smut.
of a hanging thread we left earlier. I was going to say when we're talking about Houlihan and Ratched, I was going to say the treatment of Houlihan really bothers me in this film. The treatment of Ratched, whilst also problematic, bothers me less so. And I think that's because Houlihan's more of a well-rounded character, whereas, as we mentioned when we were complaining about the prequel, I think Ratched's more of a force of nature, or sort of cipher. Symbol, which could be problematic.
I would agree.
But just to explain where I feel the difference between them.
In One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, she's kind of just
it's also
not really
worth
a
knowing
character.
that
She's more of a plot point
that
they can take advantage of. Whereas in this one, Hot Lips Houlihan is very much a character with thoughts and feelings and all sorts. And you only see that from Ratched.
Yeah,
you kind of see that
also
from
a much
Ratched
worse person.
Yeah, exactly. And there's kind of like I don't want to hate on Ratched too much in terms of the film. I can hate on the TV show, but in terms of the film, I do think the character's done well in that she has these moments where you kind of see what she was, or like the character beneath the facade. But the facade is so strong that you can still get behind people kind of bullying her.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about her as
a
a character. I think she's done well. I wouldn't want her I wouldn't want her to have depth, which is the other thing we're complaining about the prequel. So yeah, I think both characters work fine within their thing. Although I would say the treatment of Hot Lips is a bit upsetting, perhaps more to a modern viewer than it would be then. But then, going to Ebert's take, perhaps that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Cool.
Perhaps.
Anything else you want to touch on?
Let me have a look at my notey poos here. Oh, we could talk about the cast. So Hawkeye is played by Donald Sutherland, who was in the Hunger Games. Yeah. Who was President Snow. Elliott Gould, who talked about.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't know that.
You were just saying yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I knew Donald Sutherland, and I think I knew of him from other things, but I didn't connect old Donald Sutherland to young Donald Sutherland. Sorry.
Well,
so that's a shock to me. I like it though. I really like
he's
in this.
Donald Sutherland is Kiefer Sutherland's dad.
Oh.
Who's the guy from 24.
Yeah. He also played. I think Kiefer Sutherland also played Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5. Yeah. Which was a shame because David Hayter has a really iconic voice, and then Kojima replaced him for a big Hollywood name because he's Kojima and he's
that is a shame.
Star Trek, which is sad.
That's a big shame.
Particularly given that it's Kiefer Sutherland, who, not to be rude to him, I don't find him especially arresting as an actor.
I've not seen 24. My parents are big 24 fans, and they always say I should watch it.
Duncan. Nothing in my life has surprised me less than hearing that your parents are 24 fans. Do you know 24's reputation?
No, what's their reputation?
It's like the arch Republican conservative show.
Really?
9/11 paranoia. It's credited with increasing support for torture among American citizens by 33%.
That's pretty funny. apparently it's a cool show though, Jamie.
Yeah, well, it was very popular. I'm sure it's also a fun moment to moment. But
yeah.
it's got
He's also in Designated Survivor, which I think they're a fan of. Do you know if that one's that one's probably pretty.
I'm trying to think what in God's name I've really know Donald Sutherland for, because his young face was very familiar to me.
Or maybe you just imagined him with the beard.
Perhaps I just imagined him with the beard and it connected to me, or perhaps I know him super well from my favoritist film, something or other. The Great Train Robbery, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know what I know him from. It's gonna.
He looks very different as President Snow with the big beard.
Well, yeah, he's got a big beard. He's older.
Yeah, exactly. That is what tends to happen.
Oh, he's Dr. Sid in Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. That must be where I know him from.
Right. He was in The Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, that's a good one
seen.
that I should have seen.
He was in 2003's The Italian Job.
Yeah, I have seen a bit of that. Although I think
I've seen it all.
He's probably too old for me to recognise him. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I think he's in a parody of MASH called Spy.
He was in Alex in Wonderland. Oh, Alex in Wonderland came out in 1970. We missed that one. Must have missed that one. Oh no, it came out on December 17th. Jamie, we could still watch Alex in Wonderland.
December is pretty packed with good stuff. So
right.
It'll be interesting to see exactly where we. Then we will try. That I promise to you as an American.
I don't know how well this film's rated. It's not very well, so I don't know. Sometimes that's fun though. Right, Donald Sutherland. President Snow, and you recognise him. Elliott Gould was Trapper from Oceans and Getting Straight. We already talked about that. Sally Kellerman was Houlihan. Do you know her?
Have I seen her in other things?
I didn't recognise any of the other things, so I don't know if you do. I don't know if you want to have a look. Oh, she was in Star Trek, maybe.
Oh,
some Star Trek.
Might know her from that. Which it would be the original.
Let me look. Oh, was she not in Star Trek? Oh, wait. I don't know if she was in. For some, it came up when I looked up. Sally Kellerman, Star Trek came up, but now that I've looked it up.
Oh, I think Kellerman's the name of the character.
Oh, she was in one episode. Oh, it was the name of the character, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
Okay, yeah. Oh no, she starred in one episode.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
The third episode.
Although it looks like it was an important episode. She starred in a pilot episode.
Yeah,
Kirk.
This is the second pilot, which is the successful one.
So that's pretty cool.
I've watched some episodes of the original series of Star Trek, but I haven't given it a dedicated time, as it were, so I'm less familiar with it.
Right, Duke was played as Tom Skerritt by Tom Skerritt, who was in Top Gun. He was like the boss, I guess. I can't remember what rank the guy is, but the one with the mustache and the hair. That guy,
cool.
Whatever his name is. And Gary Berghoff was Radar. Radar was the only actor to reprise his role in a TV show.
Radar does not have many lines in this film, so I imagine other actors would be happy to. Yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't have many lines in this film. He was the only one in the TV show, and also they tried to do a spin-off of the TV show that was just about the character of Radar, like as a civilian once he'd finished in the army at home. And I think they just did a pilot and it failed. Maybe he's more of a character in the TV show, given that he came over from the film. I don't know, not seen it. And finally, Robert Duvall is Frank Burns, and he was in Apocalypse Now. He's the I sure love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Oh wow, guy. Good for him.
That's him, the surfer dude.
Colonel Kilgrave.
Yeah. That's a good film. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think.
Oh yeah, of course you hadn't seen it.
No, I hadn't seen it, and now I have. And we talked about it.
Very, very, very well done.
Thank you. Right, let me have a look at my handwritten notes here and just see see what I've got written down. If there's anything. Right. I don't think there is. We're getting down to the end here. Oh, yeah, it's something that I found interesting was for the football game, they seem to have found full kit for everyone. In Korea.
They seemed very well supplied. Although I think it's like hinted that implied that like the other outfit is very well equipped overall. Like it's
I mean they are, but I'm not quite sure how our MASH boys got helmets with stickers on them and stuff. But anyway, that was cool. There's a nice little cheerleader chant where they say 69 is divine, which is pretty funny.
Hey.
Oh, the music in the football scene was bizarre.
What is?
It's like very cartoony, like like people. It sounds like it's from. Yeah.
Most of the comedy in MASH is quite understated, I suppose. Whereas like that's a very out and out film.
It's a very slapstick part of the film. So I guess they just took that into account with the music. Makes sense. What about the other music in the film? Did you like the kind of Japanese versions of American songs? Did you like that?
Is that what they were? I did not notice.
I assume so. I mean, they were Japanese people singing in English.
Yeah.
So I just
assumed
fine? It was. Yeah, it was from like Radio Tokyo.
Yeah, wouldn't rate it either way. I think.
Right.
Cool. Are we getting to the bottom of the barrel in terms of things to talk about with MASH?
That was the music was the last thing I had to talk about.
Great. Shall we move on to ratings? Whilst I think of one. So, thinking aloud, I would rate this a. I'm gonna be a little cruel, I think, and as a watch if it's on. Which I don't think the film deserves necessarily. But I don't think there's enough in it, at least today, to recommend going out to see it specifically. Although I recognise that.
Going out to see it in the cinema. Yeah.
Yeah, and that might be a controversial. I know what's.
I'm struggling with this one a lot.
Summarise my opinion. I think I like the chemistry between the cast. I like the performances, but I think it's a little too mean-spirited for me to find it funny, and I don't necessarily get as much out of it thematically as it's perhaps offering. But it doesn't connect with me in that way.
Yeah. I'm not sure on this one, to be honest. I'm gonna rate it a watch, but don't pay for it.
Stream.
A stream, just because I think it'd be unfair of both of us to say watch if it's on.
Okay.
I think that would understate the quality of the film and the cultural importance of it. But I'm a tentative stream.
Okay, so it didn't connect with us either of us in the same way it did with audiences in the 1970s, and perhaps that's to be expected.
Yes, I think that's right. I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
Right. Have you been up to much this week, my pal? This is the point of the Talk podcast where me and Duncan ask each other about our lives because we only talk once a week.
Yeah, and in this case, not for ages, forever. Yeah. Have I been up to not really? Geez, I had an essay due, then I took a weekend off, and then I had loads of work to do. Because I'd taken a weekend off.
Yeah.
That left me with lots of stuff to do. Now I've got a film to make, a kind of short. Well, it's a visual project thing. I've got to make that and write an essay about that. So I've just been working mostly, to be honest. Not really
I have also been working mostly. I am going to describe my upcoming week. I shall describe as Hell Week.
Right.
2 essays due, and I have to do work for a seminar. So I'm thinking I'm going to be working every day. I have been working every day since Friday. Although it's only been 3 days, obviously, so it's not impressive. But yeah, so I've got an essay due for criminal law. I study law, by the way. I feel I should mention that more often because I'm sure it's very impressive. But
It's pretty impressive.
so I've got an essay due for criminal law, and then I've got to do a seminar thing for property law, and then I've got an essay due for healthcare law, which is all going to be quite painful. But at least the essays are fairly short. They are short, actually. They're short essays. The criminal law one requires quite a bit of research.
How short are they?
Criminal law is 1,000 words, including.
Oh, that's good.
So pretty painless. It's just
My
the research will be an issue, and medical law is 1,500, but it's about stuff we've done in the course already, so less research.
Oh, that's good. My one, I think my one, I can't remember if it's 1,000 or 1,500. Probably 1,500, since I'm in 4th year. We usually go up by 500 words, which is not bad. At all.
I feel 1,000 words is like a good afternoon's writing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really just
1,500 requires a little bit more work, but not much. Once you get 2,000 and above, it's kind of like an essay.
Yeah.
But
I've got a lot of very long essays due in second semester, and I'm not quite sure I'm going to handle those. I'm going to try and finish my dissertation over winter, and we'll see as the weeks go on as to whether or not I can stick to that promise.
Yeah, I've got my dissertation to do as well. I've been emailing people about that, which is exciting.
What's your dissertation on again?
I'm not sure. I don't have to. I've got. I need to submit in 5 days. I need to submit my title.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm pretty sure now. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm thinking of doing about old age in film.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm gonna make a film about an aging actor who keeps getting offered very like stereotypical roles, but he doesn't feel like he deserves them because he feels like he's a fit and active guy, and why is he always dying and stuff in these films. And then I'm gonna do the piece of writing alongside that about these like cliched films, and also about more better films.
Have you ever seen the Michael Caine film Young?
No.
That's a really good film about aging.
Right.
If you want a recommendation,
I'll check it out.
Pertinent insights.
But yeah, the main thing is that I'm not really sure with COVID what I'm going to be allowed to do, and if I'm not going to be able to make this film that I have planned, I'll probably write about something else, because the main driving force is the film, and if I can't make it, then I don't really want to be stuck writing and do like a backup film. So I'm hoping that early in the week I find out for sure how likely it is I'll be making it, and then can decide. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be my fun next semester thing.
Outside of complaining about work, I started playing Yakuza Kiwami. Which I would like to briefly highlight that I really love the game Yakuza 0. It's sort of an open world thing, but it's set in a very small open world. It's very packed full of stuff to do. It's got a lot of really goofy side quests. It's really genuinely one of the funniest games I've ever played. So I like Yakuza 0 a lot, and there are 6 other mainline Yakuza games that I intend to work through very slowly. But Yakuza Kiwami is a PS4 remake of the PS2 original game, and I'm quite mixed on it, because I think it's not. Clearly, at that point, the series hadn't developed as much of an identity, because the sub stories aren't funny. They're just straightforward, which is a shame, because I feel that's where most of the fun was. But the main plot of it's really good. It's like based on like a betrayal by a friend, but like, because I've played the prequel first, where like there is a genuine friendship between the two, like it hits harder, you know.
Nice.
Really invested in that, and like the melodrama of it all. But yeah, I think it's sad. I suppose they're polishing it up as much as they can, and like some of the extra content's a bit more goofy. But I feel it's not quite the same spirit as the game I loved.
Okay.
It's been an interesting experience, and that game is only £20, because I think they sort of knew that kind of thing. And I have the Steelbook edition, and I like Steelbooks. Please buy me Steelbook things, listeners. They're
send over Steelbooks to the PO Box, Golden Talkies 123 .pobox.net. Right, I think I don't think I've really not been up to much in terms of games or films or anything. I'm trying to think if I even watched anything interesting.
I watched The Mummy Returns. I've never seen the original Mummy, but I watched The Mummy Returns with Flat.
Oh, nice.
Bad. Would not recommend.
Fair.
It's got some really awful CGI though, which is kind of has to be seen to be believed. You might have seen Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Scorpion King in it, which is a
Is that the one with The Rock
horrible
in it?
Simply is, it has to be seen to be believed. Yeah, The Rock.
Yeah, you cut out a bit there, but
Sorry.
yeah, I know the one you mean, the Scorpion one.
Right.
Okay.
Shall I
Cool.
announce next week's film, because I've made an
Yeah, go for it.
as I usually do. Next week, the glut of December films hasn't quite started yet, but we will be watching The Hammer of God, which is a foundational kung fu film from China. It stars kung fu's first superstar, Jimmy Wang Yu. So this one is actually unusually for us available available with Prime. You don't have to pay anything extra. So why not watch so you can follow along as we discuss it next week. Cool. If you've not got anything else to say, then shall we?
I don't think so.
Cool out. See you around the block, kids.
Cool. Bye, everyone.